What's good fam, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, please do subscribe down below, smash the like, hit the bell, those things help out a lot. YouTube does notify people when we upload, so make sure you hit the bell so that you get notified. Anyway guys, we got a dope episode for you today. It's all about autos. A lot of people love autos, so we're dropping that auto stuff for you. And a popular question is, how much do auto plants yield? Nowadays, auto flowering plants win over many growers thanks to their rapid growing times and their compact size. If you're about to grow autos for the first time, you're probably thinking about what to expect when harvest time rolls around. So in today's episode, we're going to go through the kind of yields that you can expect from an autoflower run, and the pot size and lighting, and why those two things play a crucial role in your end product. Because if you've never grown autos before, you may be wondering what to expect. You're probably aware of their key traits such as impressive speed and hardy genetics, but some growers say that their small yields aren't worth the time. However, modern auto strains have come a long way, so in today's episode, like I said, we're going to go through all of that for you. But before we get into that guys, just a reminder, the Talking Loud podcast is back, and we had Basement Autoflowers on yesterday. Awesome guy. We're gonna have another guest on very soon, so definitely look out for that. If you haven't checked the episode of Basement Autoflowers, definitely check it out. Dope episode, awesome guy, funny guy. I won't say no more, but you just don't want to miss it. And we've also got a lot of merch on our website guys. If you're interested in supporting the channel, definitely head over there and check out some of the cool merch. And if you need grow lights, grow tents, grow equipment, that sort of stuff, Mars Hydro's got you covered. The discount code ICANTHC also helps to support the channel, and it saves you cash and everything on the Mars Hydro website. Win-win. Anyway guys, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Yes guys, now the biggest question that a lot of beginners ask is, how much do autoflower plants yield? Well, there's no straight answer to this question. Different genetics, different strains, different training methods, all these things come into play. You might find some powerhouse strains that churn out up to 500 grams or more per square meter, but a lot of growers may find that they settle around the 300 to 400 gram per square meter range. Now it's important to note that plants are composed a lot of water, like most of it is water, so you gotta know about the dry and wet weight. That'll help you calculate your yield per plant. Just like us humans, plants are composed of a lot of water. In fact, water gives freshly harvested flower around 75% of their initial weight. A lot of times the weight number that you'll see when you're shopping around for beans reflects the overall weight of wet bud. Usually to find out how much yield you'll end up with after drying per plant, you can perform a simple calculation. Now it may sound crazy, but to take a quarter of your wet weight and that's your dry weight. Yep, you usually lose 75% of your initial weight. It's intense, I know, but it happens. It's literally inescapable. Now there are a few conditions that affect autoflower yields, so let's dive right on into some of those factors that influence autoflower yields per plant. The good thing is guys that you got a lot of control over these variables, especially if you have the room to run them indoors. First off, genetics. Different strains will give you different outcomes. Some of the early strains like Lowrider played a pinnacle role in the world of breeding, but they didn't produce enough strong and abundant buds to excite growers. But it allowed people to experiment with the autoflower trait. Some of the more modern autoflower strains, however, tend to offer bigger yields and nicer genetics. Some autos boast THC contents of over 21%, and those sort of stats put them in the same league as many photoperiod cultivars. But that said, there are still some autos that produce small yields because they're bred to be small and stealthy. There's one called Quick One, Royal Dwarf, and some of the run strains, man. So pretty interesting, so just something to keep in mind. Now environment is another factor. Gotta keep track of variables such as temperature and humidity, especially when you're growing indoors to help your plants thrive. But these figures should not remain the same throughout the entire growing cycle. I'm throwing a chart up on screen now which will help you get an idea of what you need and when you need it. Now plants can struggle in the seedling stage when they're given too many nutrients, when they're handled or transplanted too aggressively, or when they're overwatered. So you want to be very careful during the seedling stage. Now when it comes to autos, indoor growers usually have an advantage over outdoor growers. Indoor growers can use humidifiers, dehumidifiers, heaters, fans, air conditioning, whatever you need to modulate your variables within your grow tent or your grow room. But outdoor growers on the other hand have like no influence over temperatures and humidity. Their local climate literally dictates these conditions. So generally speaking, those who live closer to the equator have an advantage over those who are not. That's just in general. But all that said, temp and RH is not the only environmental variable to consider. A lot of growers like to infuse their growing space with supplementary carbon dioxide or CO2. Plants use CO2 to fuel growth. Some growers report up to like a 20% increase in yields when using CO2. Now when you use CO2 correctly, it can increase your yields. If you've used CO2, drop a comment down below and let me know how it turned out, and let me know what sort of method you use to get that CO2 into your tent. A lot of people use the exhale bags, but there are other methods as well. But guys, you don't want to start mindlessly pumping CO2 CO2 into your grow tent. You need to aim for a saturation of 1500 parts per million, or ppm. Now to achieve this, you need to take the size of your tent into account and also adjust the temperature. Plants like it hotter when they have more access to CO2. If you didn't know, now you know. Now the benefits of indoor growing for autos doesn't stop there. Growers also have influence over the growing medium they choose to raise their plants in. While most growers opt for soil, hydroponic methods can result in yield boosts of around 20%. I'm actually running a few photos in DWC right now and I'm really excited to see how they turn out. In hydroponic systems, the roots have direct access to freeform water-soluble nutrients, which helps them to grow faster and churn out superior yields during their set lifespan. If you want to break down on the differences between DWC and soil, then definitely check out previous episode because we did a video on that just recently. Now guys, lighting is super important when it comes to autos. Lighting will affect your yield like whoa dude, like fucking whoa. Don't get it twisted. And because lighting is so important, inevitably you get different results if you're growing indoors and if you're growing outdoors, depending on where you live. When you're growing indoors, plants aren't exposed to the sun, so you need to get an appropriate light source. There are plenty of options to choose from: LEDs, HPS, CFL, CMH, IDGAF, FML, WTF. There's a lot of different ones. And you can expect different results based on the type of light and the strength you choose to work with. A lot of growers try to aim for 1 gram per watt or more, but it doesn't always work out that way. And even with lights of the same wattage, lights vary based on the photo power they provide to plants, so you can expect a slightly different yield from LED lights as opposed to HPS. Some are better for different stages of growth and so forth. But when you're working with autos, the more realistic expectation usually is around 0.5 grams per watt. A lot of growers just suggest that that's a more realistic expectation. Now you also need to decide how long you keep your lights on. Autos can bask in light up to 24 hours a day and still flower no problem. And in fact, sometimes keeping your lights on at all times will bring your yields above the average based on your pot size and light potency. But it will cost more. In general, a lot of growers shoot for 18 hours on and 16 hours off to achieve good yields while saving some cash. I found that the Mars Hydro lights run super efficient for me and I haven't had any issues yet. And the discount code ICANTHC will save you some cash too. Now when it comes to growing outdoors, it can be a little tricky, especially for the autoflowers. Outdoor growers don't have much control over lighting. Those located in the warm and sunny climates further south have an advantage over those in colder climates further north. And those who do live in the warm sunny climates further south, they may live in a good climate, but if you only have a shady position to work with and don't get a lot of sun throughout the entire day, you might experience less of a return. If you're growing outdoors, at the very minimum, guys, you want your plant to get at least 8 hours of direct light per day. At the very freaking minimum. And you should be able to pull through some decent yields with that. But if you have to make do with like a more shaded spot that doesn't get a lot of sun, your yield may be a little bit less. Now let's move on. Pot size is a big thing, guys. A lot of growers can expect different auto yields from different pot sizes. Containers can either limit plant growth or help specimens to unleash their full potential. For autos, anywhere between 3 to 7 gallon works fine for me. I found the slightly bigger pots work a little better, but if you go too big, it can be problematic. The roots will never fill that pot. I've experimented with a big ass pot for an autoflower and it never filled the pot and the auto was tiny. I've also experimented with smaller pots and they worked okay, but I found that once you hit that sweet spot, the autos come out nice, man. So definitely choose a pot that'll suit your grow environment. They're fabric pot, plastic pot, air pot, terracotta pots. You can even make your own pots out of buckets, man. There's a lot of different options, but make sure it suits your grow setup. If you're in a super dry environment that things dry out super quick, maybe a fabric pot may not be the way to go. But if you're in a super humid environment and things stay wet for a long time, then definitely try out the fabric pot. It's all about what works for you. Now the space that you have available will also drastically influence your total yield at the end of a grow, and the pot size comes into play here. A lot of people may be able to fit 4 or 5 plants in a 4x4 tent in a 7-gallon pot. But if you're running in 3-gallon pots, you could probably fit like 12 in there, who knows? But stuffing more plants in your tent is not always the right way to go. Sometimes it might work out, sometimes it might not. It depends on your grow setup. Like I've seen Lovely the Sticky Nugs, he grows in some smaller pots in his 3x3 and he pulls some awesome yields, man. And some awesome quality as well. So once you dial in what works for you, you can definitely get it popping. And next up is the nutrients. The nutrients is super important because it's vital to plant growth. Your autos require macro and micronutrients in order to carry out key functions like photosynthesis and protein synthesis. But autoflowers are not as hungry as their photoperiod counterparts. It's just a fact. They don't eat as much, so no need to overfeed them. If you overfeed them, that can stunt their growth and affect your yields. That's the reason why a lot of auto growers say that their yields were affected. Now, a lot of growers have success with bottle nutrients and autoflowers, but synthetic fertilizers can't easily burn your plants. So for this reason, I suggest using quarter strength for your autos or just going organic. I burnt a lot of autoflowers before and not like I was trying to, but it happened, man. It happens very easily. Growing organically helps to preserve the the soil life, reduce runoff, and enhance the soil structure. These factors actually create a better environment for your plants both indoors and outdoors and can push your auto yields above the average. If you got all the other bases covered, organic growing will help to push your yields that much further. Adding mulch to the top of your soil helps to keep the soil life intact and is known to increase the productivity of some crops up to 30%. You can also add beneficial microbes to the mix. A lot of plants form symbiotic relationships with friendly bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi. And if you watch our channel before, you definitely know that one. And it really does help with that uptake of nutrients. Now probably the biggest factor is training. A lot of people ask, should I train? Should I not train? What do I do, man? Like if you grow autos, you definitely ask yourself that question at some point. Autos grow so fast that some cultivators question whether the stress training can reduce yield. Now this definitely makes sense when considering the heavy-handed approach of high stress training, but the more gentle methods work well when boosting auto harvest. A lot of growers experience great results with LST, and this technique involves gently tying down the main stem to the rim of the pot so that it sits parallel, which allows branches to shoot up upwards and create an even canopy. I've experimented with high stress training, topping, and low stress training of autos, and I found the low stress training works well. In fact, low stress training works so well that I actually do no stress training now. I don't train it at all. I just let it grow and it turns out pretty nice. I get some nice buds all around. Once the light is evenly distributed and you got nice reflectivity, it works out great. So I mean, I'm not stressed about it and I find it worked out well. Check out our Instagram for some pics of the autos. Now there are a few things that can zork your autos, cause them to get stunted and really just fuck them up. So now that you know how to handle the autos properly, what are the few things that you should avoid? Because there are a few factors that can slow down growth, damage plants, and result in poor outcomes. One of those is poor germination. You can avoid poor germination by getting high quality seeds from reputable suppliers. Plants struggle in the seedling stage when they're given too many nutrients, when they handle or transplanted too aggressively, or when they're overwatered. So you want to be very careful. Don't feed them too much water, don't give them too much nutrients. You want the temps to be warm and the humidity to be high. Seedlings don't like that low humidity. They'll shrivel up and die, dude. We got a seedling care video, master the seedling stage in 3 steps. Definitely check it out. A lot of people have watched that video. And the humidity is probably the biggest one for beginner growers. Low humidity can cause your plants to dry out and develop crispy leaves as well. Plants depend on their leaves to survive, so make sure you aim for the desired RH for each stage like I showed you early on in the video. Now 3, lighting issues. If you're growing indoors, make sure you have a powerful enough light for the number of plants you want to grow. Likewise, if your plants grow too close to the light, they can become burned and bleached. Aim to keep the light at least 20 centimeters away from the canopy during the growing cycle. A lot of lights nowadays have rope ratchet hangers that allow you to lift the light up or push it down, or have external dimmers that allow you to increase or decrease the brightness, so use that wisely. Now for autos guys, autos love light. I can't stress that enough. Autos love light. Big reason for shitty yields is not enough light hours. Keep your lights on for a minimum of 18 hours each day. Anything less will result in subpar yields. Now small pots is an issue for some growers as well. Unless you're really short on space, I suggest using a slightly larger pot to get the most out of each plant. Although you can use small pots in a large space, it takes up more time when it comes to watering, feeding, and general care. Like I said, if you dialed in that water, feeding, and general care, you can still pull some awesome yields. So shout out to lover of the sticky nugs. Now recovery time is something that you simply don't get with autoflowers, so broken branches is a no-no. High stress training works great with photoperiod strains, but you risk breaking branches and stressing your plants out. These factors slow growth and affect yields because autos have such a short growing cycle. So you don't want to stress them at all. Try to keep that stress at the minimal fam. Now pests is a big one as well. Some small critters can inflict large amounts of damage, so I highly recommend protecting your autos with a nice IPM routine, some companion plants, or maybe some natural predators. Those will do the best for your autoflower yields. And last but not least, probably the most important one that you need to avoid is the overwatering. Watering errors are fatal, man, super fatal. Many beginners have a tendency to smother their plants in too much water, just drown them in water. As a rule of thumb, let the top 5 centimeters of the soil dry out completely before giving your autos another drink. You can lift the pot to see how heavy it is, and that'll give you a sign of how much water is in there. Some growers also stick their finger in the pot to see how damp it is inside. Now all that said, these are factors that can affect your autoflower yields. So drop a comment down below and let me know what's your biggest autoflower yield and what's your smallest autoflower yield. My smallest was 7 grams and my biggest was like 4 ounces. I haven't pulled some huge autos as yet, but hopefully I will soon, you know. And for all those growers that have pulled big yields, drop a comment, let me know what your secret is, man. Let me know how you pull those big yields. Did you grow it in soil, DWC, did you train, did you top, did you low stress train, what do you do? Let me know about your nutrient feeding schedule, let me know everything, man. I'm super interested to find out what you guys do and how you guys do it. It's all about the love in the community and sharing that love and knowledge, man. So thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. Smash the like button on your way out, hit the bell, but wait, before you go, check out this video right here and this video right here, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace, fam! Yeah.